This happened on a late shift. Sometime after midnight, probably around 2. The roads were quiet, just the occasional car passing through. I was parked along a main road, just watching traffic, when I saw a car roll through a stop sign. Not aggressively, just enough that I decided to pull him over. He pulled over immediately, no hesitation. I walked up, introduced myself, asked for his license and registration. He handed everything over without saying much. Calm, composed, nothing unusual, at first. I asked if he knew why I stopped him, and he said, "Yeah, I didn't stop fully back there." No excuses, no pushback. I took his information, went back to my car and ran it. Everything came back clean. When I walked back up, I told him I'd let him off with a warning. He nodded, said he appreciated it. That should have been it. But as I handed his license back, he looked at me for a second and said, "Long night?" I just said, "Yeah." Then he added, "You don't usually work this area this late." That made me pause. I asked him what he meant. He shrugged slightly and said, "I've seen you around, usually earlier in the evening." That wasn't impossible. People notice things. So I didn't react. I just asked where he was coming from. He gave a normal answer. Everything about him checked out. Still, something about the way he was talking felt off. Too certain. Like he wasn't guessing. Like he was remembering. I stepped back, told him he was good to go. He started the car, then paused, looked at me one more time and said, "You changed your route tonight." That caught me. I asked him what he meant. He didn't answer directly, just said, "You usually take the highway back after your shift." And then he drove off. I stood there for a second, because that wasn't something people just notice. That's not visible from the street. That's not a pattern you'd casually pick up. That's specific. I got back into my car and sat there, trying to figure out how he could have known that. Then I remembered something. About 20 minutes before that stop, I had taken a different route than usual. Completely different. I didn't announce it, didn't log it anywhere yet. I just decided to switch it up. No reason, just felt like it. And somehow, this guy knew. Not just where I was, not just when I was working, but the exact route I take, and the fact that I changed it that night. I never saw that car again. Never got a name that meant anything. Nothing came up in the system. But every now and then, when I'm driving late, I catch myself checking the rear view more than I used to. Because the only explanation that makes sense is that he wasn't noticing patterns. He was following me long enough to know when I broke one. This one came in as a standard call. Nothing urgent. Dispatch said a neighbor reported hearing movement inside a house that was supposed to be empty. No lights on, no one living there currently. Just occasional noise over the past couple nights. It wasn't unusual. We get calls like that all the time. Could be someone checking on the property. Could be nothing at all. Still, we went to check it out. When we got there, everything looked normal. Front yard was quiet. No lights on, no obvious signs of forced entry. We knocked first. Waited. Nothing. So we went around back. Checked the doors, the windows. One of the side doors was unlocked. That happens more than people think, especially with places that are between tenants. We announced ourselves and stepped inside. The house was completely dark. Empty. No furniture, no decorations, nothing personal. Just bare floors and walls. We moved room to room, checking everything. It didn't take long. There wasn't much there. No one inside. No signs anyone had been staying there either. No bags, no food, nothing. Just empty. We cleared the house, stepped back outside, and closed the door behind us. At that point, it felt like a routine call. Probably just a neighbor hearing something and assuming the worst. We started heading back to the car. That's when the resident from next door came out. He asked if we found anything. We told him no, house was empty. He looked confused, said, "That's not possible." We asked him what he meant. He said the noises weren't random, they were specific. Footsteps, doors opening, and something else. We asked what. He hesitated for a second, then said, "It sounded like someone moving around, like they knew where things were." That stuck with me a little. But again, nothing we could act on. So we told him we'd note it and keep an eye on it. We got back in the car and left. That should have been the end of it. Later that night, though, I went back over the report, just to log everything properly. And I listened to the initial call again, the one the neighbor made. I hadn't paid much attention to it the first time, just the basic details. But this time I listened all the way through, and something didn't sit right. Because in the call, before he mentioned the footsteps, before anything else, he described a detail about the inside of the house, something very specific. He said he could hear someone dragging something across the floor, in the back bedroom. That wouldn't normally mean anything, except for one thing. That house didn't have anything in it. No furniture, no objects, nothing that could be dragged. And the back bedroom was the last room we checked, the one furthest from the entrance, the one you wouldn't just walk into by accident. You'd have to know the layout, or spend time inside, long enough to move around comfortably, long enough to make noise, like you weren't worried about being heard. I sat there for a while after that, thinking about it, about how empty the place looked, how quiet it felt, how nothing seemed out of place. And then it hit me. We never asked him how he knew it was the back bedroom. This came in as a welfare check. Late afternoon, just before it started getting dark. Dispatch said someone had called about a man sitting on a bench near a small park. He'd been there for hours, hadn't really moved, and people passing by were starting to get concerned. Nothing urgent. Just one of those calls where you go, talk to the person, make sure they're okay, and move on. When we got there, he was exactly where they said he'd be. Sitting on the bench, hands resting on his knees, just looking straight ahead. He didn't look distressed, didn't look injured, just still. We approached him, introduced ourselves, asked if he was all right. He nodded right away, said he was fine. His voice was calm, steady. No slurring, no confusion. Everything about him seemed normal. I asked how long he'd been there. He said, a while. Didn't really give a specific time. I asked if he needed anything. Food, water, a ride somewhere. He shook his head, said, "I'm just waiting." That's pretty common. People wait for rides, for friends, for family. So I asked who he was waiting for. He paused for a second. Not like he didn't understand the question. Just like he was deciding how to answer it. Then he said a name. Didn't mean anything to me. I asked if they were on their way. He said, they said they would be. Again, nothing unusual on the surface, but something about the way he said it felt fixed. Like he'd already decided how long he was willing to wait. We asked for some ID. He gave it to us. Everything checked out. No warrants, no alerts, nothing concerning. We asked if he had a phone. He said yes, but he wasn't using it. Didn't want to call. Didn't want us to call anyone for him either. At that point, there wasn't much we could do. He wasn't in danger. He wasn't asking for help. So we told him if he needed anything, we'd be around. He nodded. Same calm expression. Didn't ask us to stay. Didn't ask any questions. We left. And honestly, we didn't think much of it after that. Until later that night. We got another call. Same location. Same bench. This time, the caller said the man was still there. Hadn't moved. And now it was fully dark. We went back. He was in the same position. Same posture. Same spot on the bench. Like he hadn't gotten up at all. We approached him again. Called out to him. No response. That's when we realized something wasn't right. We checked on him, and he was gone. Not physically gone, but gone. No signs of struggle, no indication anything had happened around him. Just still. We secured the area, called it in, and started going through the process. Standard procedure. At some point, I remembered the name he gave us earlier. The person he said he was waiting for. So I looked it up. It didn't take long to find. Same last name, same area. And that's when it got uncomfortable. Because the person he said he was waiting for had passed away earlier that day. Not recently, not weeks ago. That day. A few hours before we first spoke to him. I went back over the timing. When we first arrived, when he said he was waiting, how calm he was about it. Like nothing had changed. Like he hadn't been told. Or like it didn't matter. I don't know which is worse. But what stuck with me the most was that he never asked us the time. Never checked his phone. Never seemed confused about how long he'd been there. He just sat there. Like he knew exactly when he was supposed to be picked up. And even after hours had passed, he didn't move. Didn't leave. Didn't question it. He just kept waiting.